Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you for joining today. We have the disappearance day of Ishwara Puri today. So wanted to talk about this extraordinary personality. And this is one of the verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vinna, Ishwara Puri Gosani Kare, Shri Pada Sevana, Swahaste Karena, Malamutradi Marjana. Ishwara Puri, the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, performed service to Madhavendra Puri, cleaning up his stool and urine with his own hands. Wow, amazing. So who is this Ishwara Puri? He was born in the town of Kumarhata on the full moon day of the month of Jesht to a family of Brahmins hailing from Raha. The town is also important for Gaudiya Vaishnavas because Srivas Pandit and his brothers moved here after Mahaprabhu took sannyas because they were unable to tolerate all the painful reminders of him in Navadvip. Ishwara Puri's birthplace is popularly known by the name of Chaitanya Doba. Doba means a pool of water. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed through Kumarahata on his way to Puri, he showed respect for his spiritual master by picking up some earth from the place of his birth, wrapping it in his cloth and taking it with him. So this is the Chaitanya Doba and Kumarahata, and Ishwara Puri's appearance place. Thousands of pilgrims have since followed his example, thus forming a pit that has since filled with water. Ishwara Puri is a sannyas name, though his name prior to taking sannyas is unknown. His father's name was Shyamasundar Acharya. Ishwara Puri took initiation from Madhavendra Puri, the embodiment of nectarian devotional love. So Madhavendra Puri was also the spiritual master of Nityananda Prabhu. And Madhavendra Puri, I think his appearance or disappearance day comes soon as well. An extraordinary Vaishnav who, as he says, the embodiment of nectarian devotional love. And his pastimes are super excellent. So we'll talk about him in time. He was pleased with Ishwara Puri's guileless, sincere, and affectionate service, and thus showered him with blessings, so that he too became immersed in the ocean of love for Krishna. If a disciple can satisfy his spiritual master, then he will be fortunate and attain all auspiciousness and the fulfillment of all his desires. On the other hand, if a guru is unhappy with his disciple, then he will only know inauspiciousness. So, very important. Just because the guru is no longer present doesn't mean we can't please him. Guru is eternal, and our relationship with him is eternal. So we always are in a position where we can please him or perhaps make him unhappy. But we want to try to please the spiritual master. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is the famous thing about Ishwara Puri. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took initiation from him. God, Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of God, has no need for any teacher. So he doesn't have to take initiation. He is ultimately the guru of everyone. But to set an example, he wishes to teach the world that it is absolutely necessary to take the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. So without a spiritual master, guru, we can't make progress in spiritual life. We cannot achieve Krishna. So spiritual master is very, very important. Bona fide spiritual master, of course. For this reason, he played the role of a disciple by taking initiation from Ishwara Puri. when he met him in Gaya. This in itself shows beyond a doubt Ishwara Puri's greatness and importance. So today we seek his blessings to allow us to be such a fantastic disciple as he was to his spiritual master. Then the Lord went to Gaya. He went there for a specific purpose. His father had left this world and he went to perform the Shraddha, the final oblations. And Gaya is the place to go for that. He met Ishwara Puri there and he took initiation from him. He started, after taking initiation, he started to display signs of love of God. And when he returned to his homeland, Navadvip, he began to engage in the pastimes of divine love. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita, first part, 17th chapter. Now, actually, he had met Ishwara Puri previously in Navadvip. Ishwara Puri had come to Navadvip beforehand, before this initiation took place. I think we talk about that later on. So, when they met, Mahaprabhu and Ishwara Puri were overcome with ecstasy of love and drenched each other in tears of prema that fell from their eyes. The Lord said, "My pilgrimage to Gaya is successful, for today I have seen your lotus feet. When one comes, makes the Pindadan ceremony, the offerings to the ancestors at a holy place, then that ancestor is delivered. But by simply seeing you, 10 million ancestors are delivered from all forms of bondage in a single moment. This is the power of the devotee. These are inconceivable numbers, but this is the Lord speaking, so can't be untrue. Therefore, no holy place is your equal, and you are the primary source of auspiciousness for even the holy places. Please lift me up from the ocean of material suffering. I offer this body to your service. The only gift I ask of you is that you give me the nectar of Krishna's lotus feet to drink." This is from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So Mahaprabhu was acting the role of an ordinary mortal human being, a pilgrim who had come to Gaya to offer the Shraddha oblations for his deceased father. On the day that he performed these rituals, he returned to his room and he began to cook. When Ishwara Puri came and placed his lotus feet in Mahaprabhu's room, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally served him the rice and vegetables that he himself had cooked with great satisfaction. So this is a really unique occurrence where the Lord is cooking and the devotee is eating. Extraordinary. In so doing, Mahaprabhu demonstrated most perfectly how to serve the Guru. Ishwara Puri had met Mahaprabhu in Navadvip even prior to him giving the 10-syllable mantra in Gaya. He also met with Advaitacharya, who had similarly played the role of Madhavendra Puri's disciple. So they were godbrothers. Ishwara Puri, Madhavendra Puri, Advaitacharya were godbrothers because they had the same guru. And also Nityananda Prabhu was also a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So you can see the power of Madhavendra Puri. Two Vishnu Tattvas were his disciples, Advaitacharya and Nityananda. Sure. So Vrindavan Das Thakur in the Chaitanya Bhagavat has described this meeting. Ishwara Puri in his travels to various holy places once came to Sridham Navadvip, where he stayed in the house of Gopinath Acharya. At that time, Nimai Pandit was absorbed in the pastimes of learning and teasing and so many other things. Ishwara Puri entered Nadia Nagar in disguise, and thus no one can understand who he really was. That noble-minded gentleman was always absorbed in the mellows of devotion to Sri Krishna. He was thus extremely dear to Sri Krishna, and he was an ocean of mercy. No one, however, could recognize him by his dress. By the will of fate, he came to Advaitacharya's house. This is from the Adilila. He came to where Advaitacharya was engaged in worshipping Krishna and quietly sat down there. By his divine luster, one Vaishnava cannot remain hidden from another. Advaitacharya began to look in his direction again and again. Finally, he asked him, "Who are you? I have a feeling you are a Vaishnava sannyasi." Ishwara Puri very humbly replied, "I am a low-class Sudra, come to view your lotus feet." Mukund Dutt, who was also present, could also understand that this was a Vaishnava saint, sannyasi, and thus he contrived to expose him in a nice way. In his sweet voice, he began a kirtan describing Krishna's pastimes. When Sri Ishwara Puri heard that kirtan, he at once fell to the ground, and the earth beneath him became wet with his tears. Devotees present were dumbstruck. We haven't seen a Vaishnava like this before. Advaitacharya very firmly embraced him. Now everyone could understand that this is Madhavendra Puri's dearmost disciple. Sri Ishwara Puri. Loud shouts of Hari, Hari rose up in the air. Ishwara Puri remained at Navadvip for some days. One day, when Nimai Pandit was returning home from the school, he happened by chance to meet Sri Ishwara Puri on his way. Ishwara Puri was as though mesmerized while looking at the son of Sachi and thought to himself, he has all the indications of a divine person, and he appears very grave indeed. Ishwara Puri inquired, "Oh, Viprabhori, may I know your name? Where do you live? What is that manuscript in your hand?" Mahaprabhu was very, very humbly offered his namaskar. Some of his disciples replied. So this is some of Mahaprabhu's students, because he was actually running a school. Replied, "His name is Nimai Pandit," exclaiming, you are the famous Nimai Pandit. Or he is the famous Nimai Pandit. Sri Ishwara Puri remained at Navadvip. Oh, it's another one. Ishwara Puri felt very happy to meet Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu came forward and bowed his head, humbly requesting, "Shripad, please come with me to my home and be my guest for lunch." Ishwara Puri thought to himself, what a pleasant demeanor he has. As though charmed by some mantra, he quietly came along with the Pandit, Nimai Pandit, to his house. Arriving there, Mahaprabhu personally washed his feet while in the deity room. Sachi Mata offered the various preparations that she had prepared to the Lord. Then Mahaprabhu served that prasad to Sri Ishwara Puri and afterwards accepted his remnants. Thereafter they sat in the temple, Vishnu Graha, and discussed Krishna Katha, by which they both became filled with ecstatic love. Ishwara Puri also met Gadadhar Pandit and was pleased when he saw the depth of his renunciation. He started to affectionately give him lessons from Sri Krishna Lilamrit, a book of his own composition. Nimai would also come daily to Gopinath Acharya's house to visit Ishwara Puri while he was teaching Gadadhar and offered him his obeisances. One day, Ishwara Puri asked Nimai to correct any mistakes that were in the book. Nimai answered, "Anyone who finds any fault to the devotee's description of Krishna is a sinner." If a devotee writes a poem, no matter how poorly he does it, it will certainly contain his love for Krishna. A fool says Vishnaya, while a scholar knows the correct form of Vishnave. But Krishna accepts the sentiments in either case. If anyone sees a fault in this, the fault is his, for Krishna is pleased with anything. The pure devotee says, you too describe the Lord with words of love. So what arrogant person would dare criticize anything that you have written? So Prabhupada, in a similar mood, he would sometimes write in his Bhagavatam, if there are any mistakes, please excuse them. But there are no mistakes. There might be some grammatical issues somewhere here and there, but actually, when a pure devotee writes, nobody should change his words because they're perfect. They may seem imperfectly composed, perhaps, but because his love for Krishna is so deep, it's regarded as perfect, even if there are so-called mistakes. This is Chaitanya Bhagavat. To Ishwara Puri, these words were like drops of nectar, and he could understand that Sri Nimai Pandit was an extraordinary person. After passing some days in Nadia, Ishwara Puri continued his tour of the holy places. Meanwhile, Mahaprabhu was bringing his pastimes of learning and also being the head of a school to a close, and now desired to reveal his true self and establish the religion of the age by distributing love of God through the chanting of the holy names. Thus, he came to Gaya, ostensibly to offer pind for his departed father and forefather. Ishwara Puri was present at that time at Gaya. After having offered pind at the various holy shrines, he finally came to the place where the lotus footprints of Sri Vishnu are. And so that temple is the central focus of Gaya. Lucky was able to be there many years ago, a couple of times actually. And every evening they have a ceremony. There's a very amazing stone which has the footprint of Lord Vishnu. So they decorate it with chandan, and then they place a cloth on that footprint, and the footprint shows. And you can actually buy that and keep it at home. It's a very amazing place. This is this behind this temple is the Falguni River. Falguni River, that's right. Which was a little dry when we went. Couldn't really bathe in it properly. While taking darshan and hearing of the glories of Sri Mahaprabhu, of the shrine, Mahaprabhu fainted and fell to the ground. By arrangement of providence, Sri Ishwara Puri happened to come to that spot just then and learned from Sri Chandrasekhar Acharya what had happened. After a short while, Mahaprabhu regained his consciousness, and seeing Ishwara Puri, he got up to offer his obeisances. Ishwara Puri embraced him, and the two of them were drenched by each other's tears of love. Mahaprabhu addressed Ishwara Puri. So this is a little bit what we've said before. My journey to Gaya is successful just by seeing your lotus feet. If one offers pind at this holy place, then his father becomes, forefathers become delivered. But just by seeing you, 10 million forefathers get liberated. Therefore, your presence is even more auspicious than that of the holy Tirtha. Of all the holy Tirthas, pray for the dust of your lotus. I pray for the dust of your lotus feet. Therefore, Puripad, I am praying at your lotus feet to ferry me across the ocean of material existence and cause me to drink the nectar of Krishna's lotus feet. Ishwara Puri replied, please hear me, Panditji. I have understood that you are an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. This morning I saw a very auspicious dream, and now that has actually materialized. From the first day I saw you at Navadip, I've always thought of you. I get great pleasure by seeing you, as much pleasure as I get by seeing Krishna. Hearing this, Mahaprabhu bowed his head and smiled and replied smilingly, "This is my great fortune." On another day, Mahaprabhu approached Ishwara Puri and requested him to initiate Mahaprabhu with the divine mantra. My mind is becoming very restless in anticipation of this initiation. Srila Puripad very blissfully replied, "What to speak of mantras? I am prepared to offer you my very life." I'll give you a mantra, but I'll give you my life with it. Thereafter, Ishwara Puri initiated Mahaprabhu with the divine mantra. That's extraordinary. The devotee takes a position of the master. One day, Ishwara Puri came to where Mahaprabhu was staying. Mahaprabhu was extremely pleased to see him, and after offering his obeisances, he invited him to stay for lunch. Ishwara Puri replied, "Being able to accept foodstuffs from your hand is a matter of great fortune for me. This is unique. The Lord feeding the devotee. Extraordinary." Mahaprabhu himself cooked and then very carefully served his guru the prasad. Afterwards, he smeared sandalwood on his body and put a garland of flowers around his neck. Thus, the Supreme Lord taught how one should serve his guru. Without serving the great devotees, it is not possible to receive love of God. Service to the guru is the door to devotion. On his return from Gaya, or just before, after he took the initiation and he was chanting, he came back to Ishwara Puri and said, "What type of mantra have you given me? I've gone mad." I'm just always engrossed in the chanting of the holy names. And on his return from Gaya, Mahaprabhu came by way of Kumarhat, the birthplace of his guru, and began to roll on the ground in ecstasy there. And the ground became wet with his tears. Finally, he collected some dust from the holy place, bound it in the corner of his upper garment, saying, "This dust is as dear to me as my life." Then he set out for Navadvip. So after some time, Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas from another sannyasi, Keshava Bharati, and by the order of his mother came to live at Jagannath Puri. By this time, Ishwara Puri had already left this world. He sent two of his disciples, Sri Govind and Kashishwar Brahmachari, to serve the Lord at Nilachal. Even though these two were Mahaprabhu's godbrothers, he nevertheless obeyed the order of his spiritual master and accepted them as his servants. So Govind Prabhu was always with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has written, the best of sannyasis, Madhavendra Puri, had as his foremost disciple Ishwara Puri, Nityananda, and the great Advaita. In order to honor Ishwara Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the guru of the whole world, accepted him as his spiritual master. So this is, I'm not sure where that is actually. I think that's at Mayapur, if I'm not mistaken. So Ishwara Puri ki jai. Anybody like to share anything about Ishwara Puri? I must have missed some few things there. Or any questions? Okay. Ishwara Puri ki jai.